So with regard to Lebanon, the United States did not know about, nor was it involved in. Hamas is not in a position to repeat the horrific attacks of October 7th. I certainly can't speak to what impact it might have on Hezbollah and its operations that would demand other expertise.
سمير عمر سكاي نيوز عربية.
سمير عمر سكاي نيوز.
دكتور بدر عبد العاطي. دكتور بدر حضرتك أجريت بالأمس اتصالين.
Yesterday you have made phone calls with the Prime Minister of Lebanon in order to declare the supporting of Lebanon. So with regarding to your statement yesterday and with regarding to what has happened yesterday in Lebanon is considered a great aggression against Lebanon. What has happened yesterday is considering a continuation of Israel, and this can affect the relations of the negotiational stance. And the question to Mr. Blinken, don't you think that Israel, while enlarging their actions in Lebanon and in the West Bank and in other regions, aren't considering your own guidance and your own directions, and Israel are not following the path of a ceasefire? What about the American stance regarding to Netanyahu situation?
شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you. With regarding to the Egyptian stance, it is very clear. Egypt is against any unilateral actions that can attack the sovereignty of Lebanon. We are in a full solidarity with the government of Lebanon and the people of Lebanon. We have condemned and we will condemn any targeting of the Lebanese sovereignty, and certainly any unilateral actions towards the escalation must be condemned and is totally rejected and does not encourage any stability. Accordingly, and certainly such escalation and such dangerous escalation can lead to what we have warned from before, which is moving to the edge of a comprehensive regional war that can kill everybody. So Egypt as a basic regional power, as an international power, is very concerned with stopping the escalation and to refuse such unilateral policies in order to focus on the ultimate goal and not to scattering our attention, which is the access to have an immediate ceasefire. And we are totally trust and we are totally confident that the key word here and the real problem and the heart of this crisis is the continuation of the Israeli aggression in Gaza. So if we stop this aggression and if we can reach to an immediate ceasefire, so certainly this will lead to the decrease of the escalation in the region, and this will stop the edging to the brink, and this not providing any pretext to any other partner or the non-state holders to exploit the suffering of the Palestinian people. So we have said it clear, the goal is very clear. It is a must to focus on the stopping of the aggression and to reach an immediate ceasefire. So this is the valve of peace and safe and security in the region.
So with regard to Lebanon, the United States did not know about, nor was it involved in these incidents, and we're still gathering the information and gathering the facts. Broadly speaking, we've been very clear, and we remain very clear, about the importance of all parties avoiding any steps that could further escalate the conflict that we're trying to resolve in Gaza, to see it spread to other fronts. It's clearly not in the interest of anyone involved to see that happen. And that's why, again, it's imperative that all parties refrain from any actions that could escalate the conflict. We're focused on getting this ceasefire over the finish line. That would also, I think, materially improve the prospects of actually defusing the situation in northern Israel and southern Lebanon, particularly creating an environment in which people have the confidence to return to their homes, the tens of thousands of displaced people in Israel as well as in southern Lebanon. Getting the ceasefire would facilitate getting to that kind of agreement, and that's clearly the best path forward for everyone involved. So Again, it's imperative that everyone avoid taking steps that could further escalate or spread the conflict.
Leon Bruno from AFP.
Sorry. Hi. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for your hospitality, Prime Minister. Mr. Secretary, I'll try to be short for once. I'm sure you'll be happy about that. In your meetings today, did you submit any new ideas to bridge the remaining gaps to get to that elusive ceasefire in Gaza? And what are your expectations now? And also, this is your 10th trip to the region since October 7, and you have always gone to Israel, but you won't be going this time. So why is that? Is it because of tensions with the government of Israel? And to you, Foreign Minister, one of the issues remaining sticking points, if you will, according to U.S. officials, is this issue of Israeli presence in the Philadelphia corridor. Would you, as Egypt, of course, accept any extended Israeli presence in the corridor or not? Is that a definitive no? Thank you.
Thank you, Leon. So, first, with regard to the travel here, this trip was focused on the strategic dialogue between the United States and Egypt. This is something that we were determined to do, and that I was determined at the President's direction to help launch, and I'm very glad we had an opportunity to do that. Of course, it also comes at a time when we're working as closely as possible on getting the ceasefire. And so we had a detailed conversation with President al-Sisi, as well as with senior colleagues from the Egyptian government, working directly on the ceasefire about the status of these efforts and the way forward. And look, what I can tell you is this, and as we've said before, we've made a tremendous amount of progress over the last month and a half. There are, I think, in the agreement, 18 paragraphs. 15 of them are agreed, but the remaining issues need to be resolved. We put forward with the Egyptians and the Qataris ideas for resolving them. The bottom line is this: their resolution is less a question of substance and more a question of political will. And for both parties, it's important to demonstrate that political will to get this agreement concluded. For Israel, at this point, just last week, the IDF announced that the Rafah brigades had been dismantled. Hamas is not in a position to repeat the horrific attacks of October 7th. Concluding a ceasefire agreement would bring the hostages home, and, as I mentioned a moment ago, would also open important prospects for resolving other high-tension areas, including in northern Israel and southern Lebanon with Hezbollah, the Red Sea, and other places, all of which is in Israel's interest, as well as opening up opportunities to move in a very different direction in terms of strengthening Israel's security and place in the region far into the future. For Hamas, it can't continue not only to hold hostages, but to hold all of the people of Gaza hostage. Getting to the ceasefire would result in a totally different environment for the people of Gaza, ending the conflict for an initial period, and one we would work to make enduring, resulting in an immediate, massive infusion of humanitarian assistance for people who desperately need it, and clearly bettering the lives of people that they purport to represent. So the most important thing in this moment is seeing a demonstration of political will to finally conclude this agreement. And that's what we discussed. We also discussed in some detail what would be necessary arrangements if an agreement is finally reached in terms of the so-called day after. What happens in Gaza in terms of its governance, its security, its reconstruction. And here as well, Egypt is and will be a critical partner, and I think we had a very useful conversation about that today as well.
يعني دعني أضيف
So let me add to what has been mentioned by the Secretary of State, naturally speaking, and as a matter of fact, Egypt will continue in exerting each and every sincere efforts through the collaboration with the friends and the U.S. and also with the brothers in Qatar. We will not stop to exert this sincere efforts in order to stop the killing of the Palestinians and to achieve the ceasefire and to stop the Israeli aggression. I second and I totally agree with what has been mentioned by Mr. Secretary, Mr. Blinken, because the absence of the political will, this is very clear. In order to, we have to face the fact in order to reach to an agreement. So some pretexts and some justifications are being falsified and are being created in order to shatter and distract us. So this is the real problem. With regarding to your question about the Philadelphia corridor, we have a very frank and clear stance, and we have repeated it many times. Egypt will not accept any changes to the rules of the work, the existing rules before the 7th of October, especially with regarding to the rules of the operation of Rafah crossing from the Palestinian side and the total rejection of any military power on the crossing borders, and this is a very frank and clear Egyptian stance.
Kylie Atwood, CNN.
Thank you. It's 1 minute here. Okay, first to our Egyptian host, Minister Abdulati. Do you believe that Hamas is still committed to the ceasefire and hostage talks? And if yes, how do you know that? This is a question for both of you, following up on the explosion of hundreds of the pagers by Hezbollah fighters in Lebanon that we've learned about in the last 24 hours. You both spoke about the need not to escalate the situation in the region, but does this specific attack make efforts to get to a ceasefire and a hostage deal harder to accomplish? And then Secretary Blinken, two for you. I will not be as short as Leon. How much do you expect this attack by Hezbollah, this attack on the Hezbollah pagers could impact their operations, given that they now have a communication system that's down, they have at least 9 people dead and thousands injured? And you said that the remaining issues are yet to be resolved between Israel and Hamas when it comes to the hostage and ceasefire talks. But what has changed for us? Can you help us understand? Earlier this month, U.S. officials are saying that the U.S. was going to put a new proposal on the table within days, and we haven't seen that. Do you need to see a demonstration of political will from both sides that you just spoke to before putting that new proposal on the table? Thank you.
So, Kylie, we're still gathering information. We're still gathering the facts. I can't tell you in this moment what impact this will have. I certainly can't speak to what impact it might have on Hezbollah and its operations. That would demand other expertise. And again, it's also necessary to fully understand what's happened, and we're still in the process of doing that. One of the hallmarks, if that's the right word, of this effort, this extensive effort by the United States, Egypt, and Qatar to get to a ceasefire, to be the mediators, and to get it across the finish line, one of the hallmarks has been that it's a complicated process, and even the communications involved are complicated for obvious reasons, so things take time. And time and again, we've seen that in the intervening time, you might have an event, an incident, something that makes the process more difficult, that threatens to slow it, stop it, derail it. And anything of that nature, by definition, is probably not good in terms of achieving the result that we want, which is the ceasefire. Just a few weeks ago, we had just had a very productive session on trying to finalize one of the big outstanding issues, which deals broadly with the release of hostages and prisoners, the ratios, the schedule, and so forth. And there had been a very, very good discussion of that between the mediators and the parties. And then, 48 hours later, Hamas executed 6 hostages, including an American, Hersh Goldberg, Poland. So that, of course, had an impact on the progress that we were making. But I come back to what I think we both said in terms of where we are now, which is that there are important but discrete issues that need to be resolved. We've put forward different ideas for how to resolve them. They are clearly resolvable, but the key ingredient to getting a resolution of these outstanding issues is political will. That's what we're both looking for going forward. That's what's so imperative if we're going to get the ceasefire across the finish line.
Table, you have to see political will demonstrated in some way?
No, we put our ideas on the table, and again, there's a process in going back and forth, getting reactions, getting responses, or sometimes not getting responses. But I think well, I don't want to speak for my friend, but I think as we see it, what's missing in this moment to get this across the finish line is clear political will. If that will is present, this agreement gets done. If this agreement gets done, it has immediate and incredible benefits for everyone involved, starting with the hostages coming home and the people in Gaza getting immediate relief, and then opening much broader prospects for peace, for security, not only in Gaza, but throughout the region. So the interests, I believe, are clear, and now the question is getting that final bit of political will to get this done and get us all moving forward. Thank you very much.